Hey group lifers, thanks for having me wherever you are. I get to tell you, I'm Melissa and I work with all the groups at Jacob's Well, which is a huge privilege that I'm thankful for. And tonight I am excited to give you just a little taste of some pretty amazing stuff that you get to do in this next stretch of group life. And it starts with me telling a story. And it's my life story, and I've got it all here in this handy dandy timeline that I've made. And so it starts, you don't have to do this, but I actually put dates. I was born in 1971, and that was in Minnesota, Marshall, Minnesota, and spent my childhood, I symbolized with a dinner table, because that was a pretty significant place in my family. There were 4 X's here, because those were my 4 family members, me, my brother, my 2 parents. And there are other dots that represent all the other people that lived with us along the way or visited. We always seemed to have people at our table besides the 4 of us. My grandpa lived with us for a long time, or it seemed like a long time when I was in middle school with a heart condition that he needed to be in and out of the hospital, and actually collapsed at our dinner table once. So it's kind of a significant place for me for many reasons. In 1990, I graduated from Chaska High School and traveled to Colorado, where I went to the University of Colorado in Boulder. I met my husband Joe there. We were really good friends, and towards the end of our college, decided that we would be getting married, and that was also a time when I learned my mom had cancer. She battled cancer for about 2 years and died in late 1994. Joe and I got married in 95. Bless the heart here. And my dad got remarried in 96, which was significant. Then along came Andrew in about 2003, our first son. Jacob's Well started in 2006, which has been a big deal for Joe and I both, and hopefully a lot of you. And then there was some time where these question marks symbolized some time where Joe and I had a few miscarriages, lots of stories there. And then Pete came along in 2009. So these are some of the high-level big things of my life, and I actually want to take one little slice and tell you more about a moment that was pretty formative for me. It happened right around 95. Joe and I were married, early married, having one of those late-night conversations, and we don't really remember the particulars of what we were talking about, but I do know I said something really mean. Gut-wrenching mean. One of those things you can only say to someone that you know really, really well and can really hurt them with it. And so this came out of my mouth, and then there was a long silence, and I think probably some deep sighs on both of our parts, and finally I got up the courage to apologize. And after another bit of silence and some sighs, what Joe said to me really was a game changer for me. And he said, sometimes you just have to separate the chaff from the grain. So he would do that for me. And that was a new awareness of what grace was. I think I knew about grace in my head and had been showered with it all my life, really, but this was a new level where I knew it in my gut. And knew that, gosh, Joe wasn't playing games with this unconditional love thing. And maybe God isn't playing games with it either. And maybe this is a real thing that I could have. And maybe it's a way that I could love other people. So I have to say that all of that meaning maybe wasn't apparent right when it happened. I knew it was big. But it wasn't until a few years later when someone asked me a question in the context of a church thing, actually. They said, when have you experienced grace? Like, do you remember a moment when you really felt it? And that moment came to mind, and in the telling of it, then and honestly now, it helps me to tie a knot in that part of my life that really wove some important new awarenesses together for me. So that's my story, and that is what you guys get to hear and do together. You'll each get a rope like this for your group, and as you share these stories, maybe you can add a knot for every person. When they're done telling it, they could add some weave and add a knot in it. And I love to think about all of the knots that you guys will share, and what that could mean for you and for many other people too. So I'm so excited about that. Tonight, make sure to plan out how that's going to work in your group. So decide who wants to go next week, who's going to go first. And how do you want to plan it out on the calendar all the way, or do it week by week? But make sure everyone has a chance and is invited, and some people might not be as excited to do it right away. But I think over time, as you hear each other, people will get more comfortable. So what helps that comfort happen is taking time, which I want you to do next tonight. I think that you'll have time for this tonight or sometime before you get too far into these. Your host will have these basics printed out for you, and everyone should make sure to have a copy of this and take some time to walk through it. It just helps you clarify what are your goals, why are you here, and what makes groups a great place to be and share these kind of stories and really connect at a significant level. So take time to do that together. It is really worth it, and I hope it will be a helpful beginning to some holy stuff this fall. Thanks for listening.